The yoke is no joke. For those of you anticipating the new Lexus steer-by-wire system and its yoke-like steering contraption to be the most distinctive, forward-looking, and ultimately compelling reason to consider the 2024 Lexus RZ 450e, you would have been in the minority. Most of us rolled our eyes hard when RZ interior pictures were released. Having seen Tesla's gimmicky yoke in action, skepticism was understandable. In short, though, this is not just a yoke bolted onto the steering column for drivers to pretend they're Batman. It is in fact an intrinsic part of an entirely new steering concept that could revolutionize the way we interact with the front wheels of a car. Which is why I'm going to talk about it an awful lot here in the beginning of this RZ review, because, unfortunately, this late availability option is a much bigger deal than the electric crossover it's attached to. Though if you want to skip ahead, click here. Basically, there is no mechanical connection between the yoke and the front wheels. There's not even a mechanical backup as Infinity's unloved steer-by-wire system had, but before you get too bent out of shape about that, the last airplane you flew on almost certainly was steered by wire with no mechanical backup. It had a yoke too, for that matter. Anyway, that's not the big deal. An angle sensor in the column senses how much you turned and sends that info to the usual electric power steering system, while the car determines how fast the car is going. Those two pieces of info are then used to radically alter the steering ratio and therefore how much you have to steer. For example, if you're at low speeds in a parking lot or turning right at a stop sign, the amount of steering input you have to provide is minuscule, like turning around a gentle bend at 40 miles per hour. Performing a U-turn only requires turning your right hand over to 11 o'clock with your left hand to 5, as in less than one full rotation. That's full lock with steer-by-wire, which means there's no reason for you to remove your hands from 3 and 9, and therefore, a steering wheel isn't strictly necessary and can actually be a detriment, which is why the yoke was devised. If there was a wheel, RZ Assistant Chief Engineer Tetsuya Ishigaki says drivers would likely unnecessarily crank the wheel over, just as I would have when I went to do a left U-turn with the yoke and instinctively brought my left hand over to 2 o'clock only to discover error.